everyone, and welcome to SellerMobile TV. I am especially excited about today's webcast because I've got some amazing people here with me. As sort of entrepreneurs know this, and this is something that I experience too. When we start doing something, we often are wanting to grow and maximize our potential and do as much as we can. It's sort of what drives us. And I know that this drives so many Amazon sellers. We started selling on Amazon before, we developed SellerMobile, which was an organic, really our organic product of our own, 8-figure business. And as we were growing, we always sort of thought about what can we do to maximize our potential. And as you do that kind of in e-commerce and in the marketplace, you always think about there's sort of a couple of different options. There's a couple of different approaches. The first approach would be, hey, I'm selling these products. These ASINs are doing really well. Now let me source new products. Let me find new things to sell. Let me kind of grow my catalog. Another approach is once you've kind of mastered something and you're doing it really well, is to expand to other marketplaces. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So I have not these people. Let me tell you a little bit about these people. Not only are they some of the smartest people I know and sort of industry experts, but they are some of the kindest people we know. And we're just so excited to have you guys. So let me introduce Melanie. Melanie is one of the partners at AVASK, and she has, she is really, she's an expert in taxations and accounting, especially as it relates to e-commerce. And a little tidbit that I learned about you yesterday, was that you won Britain's 400 top women in Britain, which is super exciting. Congratulations on that. That is a wonderful accolade. And then we've got Tom, who does business development for AVASK, and he's the guy you talk to when you want to strategize, when you want to figure out, what you can do to help you grow in additional marketplaces, and what you can do to sort of figure that out for your business. So Melanie and Tom, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about what you've got in store for us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Hiba, for the very kind introduction. There is a story. It's amazing because I met a director of one of the directors or partners of SellerMobile, who had been one of our first clients at AVASK some years ago. And he took on the expansion absolutely seriously before he exited that business that was doing so successful, so well. So it was lovely to meet you guys in February for the first time and talking to you guys. But thank you so much for having us today. So like you've introduced me, my name is Melanie Shabangu. I do all the taxes and accounting at AVASK Accounting and Business Consultants. Our firm focuses on helping sellers to expand and also flourish and in the marketplaces that they're working under. So today we're just going to be talking about the VAT global e-commerce statistics of what we are seeing post and pre-COVID. We're also going to be touching base about the marketplaces and the opportunities that still exist for e-commerce sellers. And also Tom is going to taking us through the building of the strategy as well and starting your expansion journey. So this is literally just going to be very much conversational. And I'm hoping that you guys are going to be enjoying the conversation as we go. So over to you, Tom.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us, Hiba. It's great to be a part, obviously, of today's webinar. And again, thank you for the kind introduction. It's very rare I get introduced like that. It's really, really good to be here. And as Melanie said, we're going to be diving into looking at the sort of the opportunities of global expansion, looking at sort of the planning elements, looking at the different marketplaces and strategies as to how you can actually expand. So really looking forward to getting started. Now, I think we're going to be starting with actually why expand globally. And I think there are so many different reasons as to why you should even start to think about expanding globally. But I would say there's a few key points and a few main areas that I would say are absolutely key when looking to expand. And if we look at the big question of why expand, It's really looking to open up the opportunity and open up the visibility across as many markets and divisions as possible. So as we know, there are some unbelievable marketplaces. There's some unbelievable territories to sell in. Identifying where your products sell best is really, really key. So researching as to exactly where your products need to be, where they're going to sell best, is absolutely essential for you to actually expand your business in the right way. Now, looking at diversifying into new marketplaces, yes, obviously the end goal is to put your products in front of as many buyers as possible. It's all about increasing the opportunity and spotting the obviously the markets where your products will sell best. So I would say, look at the US, for example. A lot of people start with the US. It's a great market. But if you look at other markets in comparison in terms of size, in terms of sort of population, sellers out there, it's really interesting to actually get a gauge for, what market represents what size and what opportunity. And I think if we were to dive in again with COVID, we thought it would be nice to touch on sort of pre-COVID and post-COVID statistics, just to make sellers aware as to where we are within the industry. So just to dive into a couple of those, just to start off with, as it says here, the global online retail sales will reach 4.2 trillion in 2020. So, unbelievable opportunity to be a part of, to be part of the growing industry. And another fact towards the bottom there, with regards to how nearly 86% of online retailers are investing in expanding their e-commerce experience over the next 12 months. And again, on the COVID topic, COVID has really slingshotted everyone around the world into thinking and buying online, whether they wanted to or not. So it's been an amazing shift, which has really revolutionized how everyone thinks, to the point that even my grandparents are shopping online now. It's crazy to think I'd ever see my grandma sat there with an iPad ordering her products on Amazon. It's just absolutely crazy. So that's where we find ourselves in today, and obviously pre-COVID. And Melanie is just going to add on, obviously, post-COVID as to what the statistics are there. Oh, I think you might be on mute.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. So post-COVID, you are absolutely right that we've seen a huge shift with our older parents that are now on their little iPads and they are ordering. And I would say that almost everybody in the company actually is really like pro Amazon, I would say, as a marketplace. So I think it's the one marketplace that is the one to look out for. There are other marketplaces that are sort of like shooting up at the moment. There's one that's actually, it's deemed as, I don't know whether you've come across this, it's deemed as one marketplace that is going to be a competitor of Amazon. I'll find the name and I'll share that with you. But post-COVID figures, they are showing us that in the US, the e-commerce prediction is predicted to grow by at least 18% in 2020. But I mean, if you look at Tom, you look at the 18%. 18% for me doesn't do it for me. I think we're going to see a huge shift because, again, we haven't actually thought the fact that things have opened up in Britain, we're now thinking that, so maybe we're going to be going back to brick and mortar. I don't see us doing that. I see those figures, even the 18% that is predicted, I think it's a very conservative figure.
And I think another piece that I really liked the example that Tom gave earlier about, sort of your grandma online. I think what we also think, I think what's also really important to account for is the buying power of those, sort of that generation that wasn't necessarily online before, as opposed to kind of younger people who are just starting off in their careers and their lives. I think that is what's going to sort of push it over, is just that the buying power of that group that wasn't online before.
Absolutely, and I agree on that. Hence why I'm looking at 18% as a really sort of like conservative percentage. Yeah. Now, I could see an uptake more than that. Say, for instance, in Poland a year, the prediction is that between the online selling or buying, grows by at least 12 to 15% each year in Poland. It's one of the fastest growing country on online penetration. And now we're looking at now the US side that the prediction says 18%. I'd like to be one of the predictors, and I would actually put easily 25% on there. Hey, who knows? Things might go according to what they say. But again, in Europe, the turnover is supposed to be growing by another prediction of 12.7%, and that's going to be hitting about 717 billion. That is absolutely huge. I think we're talking about all these figures, and we're thinking everybody must be scratching their head and thinking, so where am I going to be? Especially for the entrepreneurs. For me, I would turn around and say, well, if you've got to participate in that dollar of 717 billion, do that by expanding your products globally, especially because if you think about it, for somebody who's expanded or who's already selling online that are based out in the US, you've already got the inventory and you've got this tried and tested method. It works. And, there are other places whereby your product could do even much more better. If you ask me from an accounting point of view, what I normally see with US sellers that expand into Europe, previously, I would say around 2012, 2013, I used to say at least 30% uplift or difference in sales as compared to the US side. But in later years, I've seen a huge shift. The US turnover could easily be, the European turnover could easily be 60, 70% of what you are making in Europe. Now, we're going to be looking at the expansion into Europe as to how that looks like for somebody already who's got a market store selling in the US or selling in Canada, selling in Mexico, or maybe selling already in Europe, and they haven't discovered other countries, because we find a lot of people that are selling in the UK, but they haven't tapped into Germany. They haven't tried Spain. They haven't tried Italy. So what does that look like, Tom?
Yeah, it's a point that I love talking about. So thank you for bringing that back over to myself. I think Europe is, as everyone knows, is a great set of marketplaces. We've got UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and now also the Netherlands. And I'm sure many more to come in recent months. But Europe is a great marketplace generally. I'm going to come on to the actual statistics in just a second. I would say that it's never been easier to actually expand throughout Europe. And the reason I say that rather is because when you look at the US marketplace, the US is great. But when you compare the market as a sole market versus Europe as a whole, it is much less saturated. And the reason I can say that is because if you compare the US, I think there's 1.1 million Amazon vendors, clients that are actually selling on that marketplace. And if you can compare that to all, UK and the EU4, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, it's around the same number. So if you're looking at Europe as a comparison, it's a really, really great way of looking at a slightly less saturated market, but obviously multiple markets to sell on. Now, with regards to how it works and what the complexities are, what I was saying is it's never been easier to actually sell cross-border or sell and fulfill in each country. Amazon and other marketplaces have developed amazing fulfillment opportunities and programs that allow sellers to fulfill their items in multiple countries or just one, and still distance sell into the others, which we can come on to in just a minute. If we look at the actual overview and look at the population of the EU, we're at just under 750 million people. And I think a lot of people forget that the EU as a whole and how easy it is to sell as a whole market. The opportunity is very similar to the US. As it says, the e-commerce turnover in 2019 was $621 billion. So it represents a humongous obviously opportunity there. Again, the spending power in Europe at around 1,600 per household is absolutely incredible, and it's a must-have. And I think, just generally speaking, once you've got as far as setting yourselves up in a market, it's very easy to be too comfortable in your home marketplace. And I think the most successful sellers that we speak to are the ones that are trying to push the boundaries at the right time, of course, but they're looking to expand into new markets. And it's when they actually realise how simple it is, those sort of 4, 5, 6 steps that they need to take to be able to open themselves up to multi-millions more potential buyers, is when the catalyst starts for them to really build their turnover in multiple territories. So I've touched on quite a few things there. As we know, the online retail growth is increasing by around 12% on an annual basis. I'm sure that is going to increase massively due to COVID and everything else that's gone on. I would just say that Europe, the different fulfillment settings that we're going to come on to later on this afternoon, are just an unbelievable opportunity. So it's really understand the different markets that are available, Amazon, eBay, and others as well. And if we look at the others, so to say, I know that Amazon and eBay are obviously a massive player throughout Europe and throughout the whole world, really. But if we look at a few of the others, for example, Zalando in Germany, you've got Cdiscount in France. You've got Wayfair also in the UK, again, very popular for different categories. So it's understanding, which products are going to sell best on which market, because Amazon might be great, but if you're selling furniture, for example, Wayfair might be better, or it might present you a better line of audience. So it's just being really mindful of that and doing your research before you jump into a market. Then looking at the likes of Italy, Spain, and obviously we've got the AliExpress across all 3 markets there. So again, it's really, really important to review that. AliExpress is another very prominent market that a lot of our sellers are looking to get into if they haven't already. And you've got Bolt, and you've also got eBay again. So that's an overview on Europe. We're going to dive a little deeper and a bit further on in terms of sort of Amazon and the fulfillment options and programs that are available. But Melanie, if you could touch on the UAE for us and what the opportunity is there.
Sure, that's great, Tom. But I know that you've mentioned Europe. I'm just going to go just a step back on Europe and say there is one platform that I think people forgot about. This platform back in 2012, 2011, we had a platform called Price Minister. Price Minister is came. I think there was a move like, Prime Minister is no longer there. There's now Cdiscount. But Prime Minister, I think it was acquired by Rakuten. Rakuten is a very popular platform in France. So I think it's one platform. If you are selling on Amazon in France, I would say it's a platform that you should not miss to list in, because it is very, very popular in France. And also we talk about Europe having a spend of $1,600 US dollars per household. Look at Britain. The UK has got $2,500 spent in US dollars per household. And the market penetration in the UK alone is something like over 90%. Now, if you can think about it in monetary terms, the opportunity is absolutely huge in the UK itself, without even to consider Europe. And I know that some people might be thinking about this time that, we've got Brexit coming. Do not worry about Brexit, because there are plans on what's going to be happening. There's lots of communication that is happening, and the UK is the biggest customer of Europe. So there will be a deal that's going to be made. There are still loads of opportunities there if you look at Europe as well as the UK. So that's what I just wanted to touch base on the fact that, the UK, the spend per household is really, really high. We spend in the UK, and I've had some clients especially when they first started selling in the UK, that there was a lot of saying that, oh, what's going to happen with my returns? Where am I going to be returning my products, and customer service and all sorts of things? The UK, the culture, there's too much of a culture of charity, Tom. I don't know whether you'll echo me on that. We are quite charitable from the point, if I go and buy an item and I think somebody else could benefit from it, I'm going to do that. I'll pass that product to somebody else. I'm not going to go back and do returns. But I'm not saying that we don't have returns. You will have some returns, but not at the value that you see them in the US. That is totally different in terms of from a cultural point of view. And we like charity. We'll take our bags on a Monday morning or Saturday, take them to the charity shop, whereby we're going to be gifting the products if we don't like them. Even down to my really ugly present that my cousin Nora is going to buy for me. I'm not going to take it back to the shop. I'll take it to a charity shop when January comes.
I think that's a really interesting perspective, because I think one thing, especially for U.S. sellers, so as they're penetrating European or the UAE marketplaces, is to sort of keep in mind the cultural differences and what that means, not only in the types of products you sell, but that, like you said, the returns, and then there's so many different pieces to that. So as you are thinking to expand to different marketplaces, always keep kind of that cultural piece in mind. And then there's just so much information. There's so many service providers that can kind of that can make that link for you. If for me as an American, that isn't necessarily automatically where my head goes. So I think that piece of that cultural piece is really important. I think especially as it relates to UAE, because that is such a different culture, than the one in the UK or the one in the US.
Absolutely, Heba. That is really, really right. But we're going to touch base in terms of what strategy should you be looking at executing this. Now, let's move on to the UAE quickly and talk about the UAE. I am lucky that I've got some friends in that part of the world. Do you want to move on to the next slide, Tom? Thank you.
UAE, this one.
Yes. So you from UAE's point of view, is that we've got some friends at that part of the world. It is a very interesting market, and the reason why it's interesting is because you think, it's a population of only just about 9.8 million. Again, internet penetration is 90%. There are other marketplaces that are there. Now, when I've been talking to some friends that are there, especially the ones that are coming from Europe, yes, there are marketplaces there. However, their marketplaces, they are more like the Alibaba. You order a wallet that is red, and you're going to be getting a green one. The same applies with electrical goods. What I've heard is that on the marketplaces that are there, they are almost a no-no. Why? Because they don't normally meet the standard. So there is no CE mark, which is something that we have here in Europe, whereby there is protection and also there is that level of compliance that needs to be done on products. Now, when Amazon all of a sudden comes through in the UAE, and people, especially those from Europe and even people from the UAE, they know Amazon, that the products that are there is quality. And all of a sudden, there is that movement that is moving towards shopping on Amazon, because people on their head, they think there's going to be quality that is going to be there. Now, I would say I saw a lot of Chinese sellers moving into Amazon UAE. I would love to see more of Europe, UK, US looking at those platforms. That I mean, it sounds a bit uncomfortable selling UAE. What would I sell there? But they've got money there. I mean, by 2020, e-commerce is expected the turnover to be more than 20 billion. Now, that is huge for a population that is only for about 9.8 million. That's what I'm actually thinking. And the fact that Amazon holds at least 12 to 15% of the market share in that country. That is going to be changing because, it's not everybody that knows Amazon in that country. I'm thinking that, the taste is, and once people start talking more about it, especially when it comes to quality, Amazon, we know that they are very, very strict in terms of like the products that are being sold there. So I could see some serious movement. The 15%, 12 to 15%, I think that's going to definitely increase in the coming years. But I would say for anybody that is considering to move to that platform, it's now. It's making sure that your product is available now. And also it's being patient, because it is a new platform. Even, Tommy, you're going to be touching on Australia as well. From what I think that we launched the first new clients in Australia. Do you want to just maybe touch a bit on Australia?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I think if you look at the opportunity of sort of single marketplaces such as the UAE and Australia, again, from what we covered at the start, all about opening yourselves up to new markets, new opportunity, and getting your products as close to your buyers as they possibly can be for obvious reasons. And I think, there's a few points that are very relevant to both markets that you just mentioned there, Melanie, such as, population size is fairly small, but I would say that the buying power of, obviously an increasing requirement for e-commerce in those countries is a great opportunity in itself. And I think a lot of the sellers that I'm speaking to that are expanding to Australia know that they're not going to necessarily breach thresholds and they're not going to suddenly take off in Australia, but they're wanting to build their brand. They're wanting to build their reviews, build their presence, and so on. So I think it's equally as important to identify when a market is growing, identify the opportunity there at an early stage so that you can get your products in, you can get used to the processes that are required, getting your products translated if they need to be, making sure that obviously the shipment and everything is in line. And I suppose what's really great is as you start selling more, then you have more negotiation power further down the line, whether that's with your manufacturer, with your shipping company, whatever it might be. So volume of sales can have, great impacts to your business and your margins, generally speaking. So I think it's not always about profit. I mean, obviously profit is great, but, there's things further down the line that can also benefit from you increasing the volumes of products that you sell. So that's another point that I think,
that's a really good point. And I think another piece there is, I'll sort of give Singapore as an example. It's kind of, I think it fits into the Australia, the UAE, and, sort of the newest one now, marketplace for Amazon is also how much time and energy and money that Amazon is spending promoting the marketplace really for you. And so, all you have to do is kind of jump on that bandwagon or ride that wave with Amazon. And I think you're right that it won't be sort of overnight success, but it always benefits you when you are the first person, right? When you have kind of already carved the path. I'm struggling there. So I think that sort of is the piece is that so Amazon they'll promote their marketplace because they want it to do well. And then if you jump on that bandwagon, you can find that you will come a lot further along than someone who's kind of, coming at the tail end of that.
Definitely.
I see Singapore, I see everywhere sort of Amazon marketing the Singapore marketplace. It seems to be sort of just popping up all the time. So I just thought of that as an example too. All of these single marketplaces can be really powerful if you've got the right strategy. And I think that's kind of where you guys come in, is to provide that strategy.
Yeah, definitely. I think just to add as well, I think as you expand, obviously Amazon are also allowing sellers on certain aspects to be able to bring over their listings, not their listings, their reviews. So to be able to launch in a new market and to bring over reviews from your US product is obviously hugely powerful to get you started. So that's also a great advantage. As a marketplace, Australia, where the seasons are on the reverse, a lot of sellers that I speak to that are dealing with products that are very seasonal, things like I don't know, unless I'm a UK seller, I'm selling beach toys for kids or whatever it might be. there is only a certain amount of time that my products are most likely going to be selling at a very high volume. So I would say there's two aspects of this. I would say Australia, because that's what we're talking about, is a great seasonal reverse for marketing, for obviously to sell your products to people that require the all year round product. And I think that also flips on its head if you look at holidays and things. So if you have the bank holidays in certain countries, if you have different New Year's, all those sorts of things, public holidays across multiple countries. If you look at Europe, for example, a lot of very successful sellers, e-commerce sellers, are capitalizing on every different holiday and spectacle there are around the world, which tends to have a massive influx in sales. So I just wanted to add that as well. And again, Australia population 25 million, so relatively small, but again, expected e-commerce turnover is 25.8 billion. So a humongous uplift from that. And I think the market is growing very, very quickly. So I would say think about whether your product will sell well in Australia, and think about getting over there as quickly as possible. From a tax point of view, it's very, very straightforward to get started because there is a threshold in place before you actually need to register for the goods and services tax, which is 10% in Australia. So you've got a buffer to play with to allow you to test the market before you go, jumping in with 2 feet, needing to register, needing to do this, needing to do that, test the market, get a gauge for it, and then sort of build your presence from there. So that's sort of what I wanted to mention. I don't know, Melanie, if was there anything to add to Australia, or whether you were ready to move on to?
Yeah. Let's move on. With the conversation. We're gonna just go over now that we've given you a bit of an overview as far as like what is it that you may be looking at doing if you're gonna be expanding into these marketplaces. It's about you creating a clear strategy on what you want to do and you want to achieve, and also for your business goals. Now, I'm taking it. Let's say you have not launched or you have launched. The strategy is the same because you still need to make sure that you set some clear, realistic, achievable goals. Now, one thing that I've seen is that some people would set out a lot of strategy within a short space of time. Either those strategies, they execute them or they don't execute them at all. So they put them in the shelf. Now, one thing that I would say, just make those small steps and make sure that those steps are achievable. Because if you go and just make the large step, what could happen there is that you may find yourself not executing any of those steps, or you may step and that's you going back to square one where you began. What you need to do, just set some clear timelines as far as like, what is it that you want to do for your business? And also, once you've set that out, there are those key information that you need to make sure that you execute. So having a clear research plan, execute. Now, when people talk about a business plan, I think a business plan is a bit an outdated model, especially for entrepreneurs. I would say your business plan could just be a 2-page document on your diary where you're going to be having the expansion strategy. And you're going to know exactly that if I'm looking to expand, let's say, into the UK, I need to study the culture. Even though the UK, they speak English, but I need to understand as to what's the culture in that country? How will I name these products? And also look at the products as to what is it that the Brits know, or the products. What products do they actually like as a continent? And if I'm going to be thinking about the currency that I'm using, dollars in America, are they still using dollars in Britain? No, they're using a sterling. And so what is the exchange rate? And also thinking about the fact that if I am going to be now expanding into Britain, let's look at my taxes. Will I have to be paying corporate tax in Britain? The answer is no. Personal tax? No. What tax do I need to pay? Now you've got VAT. And the VAT, to be honest, it's not supposed to be eroding your profit margins by any means, because you will find the retail value of what you want to sell your product for. You just need to mark it up and make sure that you include it on your selling price that is going to be visible on Amazon. Now, you need to think about the fact that what's the best marketplace that I could expand with to get me started? It's obvious, Amazon. And most of you guys will be selling on Amazon. Now, once I am in the UK or in Europe, we previously discussed it on our earlier on that there are other marketplaces that are there that you should be looking at selling your products in. And some of these marketplaces, Amazon fulfills or can fulfill the products on your behalf. There are also 3PLs that are there, warehouses that can do the fulfillment on your behalf. And also, now, if you think about the shipping side, which is always one of the biggest hurdles for people that are looking to expand, the paperwork at customs, who's going to complete that paperwork? Shipping companies, that's their job. You won't have to be completing any paperwork, especially if you are working with companies that are already dealing with Amazon sellers. There is on Amazon, there is a list of all the providers on there. One of those that we recommend is First Choice Shipping. Just because they've been working with Amazon for many years, they understand it's to what's required. And again, if you're talking about the currency exchange and what is it that I should be looking at in terms of, like, for me now that I'm selling very successfully in Europe, and what is it that I'm going to be looking at in order for me to transfer the money back into America? Of course, you could use Amazon to transfer, but most people have seen them that they are using other providers like Payoneer that are going to be doing their currency transfer, whereby you're saving. Again, you're saving a percentage or two, but still, there are still savings there. And, I don't know, Tom, did you want to expand on that as far as, like, what is it that's the key things that sellers should be looking at?
I think you've covered most of them. I think it's just all comes down to research and understanding that just because you've got a bestseller in one market, it doesn't mean that it's suddenly going to be the bestseller in the other market. So I think understanding your competition, understanding your audience, and definitely doing the research and really just using the different companies that are out there, because the advice you can get, the consultation level you can get for free, is absolutely outstanding, even through webinars and joint seminars and things. So I'd say use them. I would say the likes of Payoneer are obviously very popular with regards to saving. I think it's unbelievable for even very experienced sellers that are still sort of converting through Amazon and really just look at saving every penny you can in every part of the journey, because as everyone knows, the margins are usually tight within this industry. So the more that we can help you save and feel free to book a strategy session with myself or Melanie, and then we can actually not only talk you through the tax element, but also talk you through each stage of the journey. Things like the taxes, the payments, the different currencies, shipping, and maybe open some ideas up as to how you might be able to streamline something or review different options. Yeah. So that's it really from my side.
Yeah. No, I think that's, what I really like is as we've had people come and talk about expanding to EU or other marketplaces, or sort of vice versa, folks that are in Europe to expand to the US, is everyone has such a different perspective, right? Everyone kind of sees it from a different lens. And I really appreciate your lens, because I think you see it from a very sort of, from an accounting, from a taxation, from sort of that very kind of do the math, know your numbers, strategize, and then execute. Then, in terms of when it comes to, even having sort of you guys provide a service, and, I want to take a few minutes to tell folks who you are, and what they can get from you. But is everyone needs an accountant. You can't get away with it. It's just a matter of finding a good one, someone that you can trust, someone who's going to know their facts and then sort of guide sellers appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. Thank you for that. And again, I've always said that we're going to be truthful. There are lots of other companies out there whereby get VAT registered, do this to buy my product. For us, we are not about that because, we've been in the market for a very long time here, but we've seen clients come and go. And the ones that stay are the ones that have got a better strategy. They've thought about their expansion as this is something for the long haul. For me, I'm going to tell you now, I will not take you through the VAT registration if I can see that your product is not going to work. It's as simple as that. Hence why, from the research point of view, yes, I want people to expand. But let's talk about your products. Talk to me about your products because I'm a consumer and I've helped thousands of people to expand onto the EU marketplace. I'm talking about Tom. Tom, when I first started with AVASK 8 years ago, we were expanding people to the UK and Germany. We were talking with Tom about a few days ago that we started with UK and Germany, and here you are doing all countries now at the same time. Doesn't it not shock you to have a seller coming in saying, I'm going to be registering for VAT in 8 countries? Before, we were like, no, don't register for VAT in 7 countries then. Just start with 1. And then you can see how it goes. But now Tom is engaging 6, 7, 8 countries, which is something that wasn't happening 5 years ago. I don't know, Tom, do you know what's the reason for that? What has changed, you think?
I think there's a number of different reasons. I think that sellers are having to be potentially more switched on than they were sort of 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think it was very easy to establish yourself in the UK, have your fulfillment there, and use a 3PL FBA as distance sell into the other markets. But I think as e-commerce has grown, I think competition and the threat of others coming into a market is more prominent. So I think that one of the reasons is that people want to deliver their products as quickly as possible to their buyers. And the only way of doing that is obviously bringing your products closer, which obviously is what we're going to come on to in a second with the different FBA solutions. So I think that the main reason is that people are realizing that in this day and age that we live in, that people want things instantly. If you want things instantly, the only way of getting it to them is if your products are already in the country of where you're selling. So coming back to why they're registering for so many countries, well, people that want to store products in a country within Europe, triggers an automatic tax requirement. So we're finding that people are already wanting to place their orders, they'll place their inventory there, therefore they're looking to register straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely correct. And another one that we've got is you've got know your customers. I think you've touched briefly on that you really need to understand that translation of your product is key. Language localization is absolutely key. And also evaluating your pricing model. I know that SellerMobile, they've got a powerful repricer tool, but most of our clients, they use it and they love it. And also you've got loads of really nice tools whereby somebody can analyze their returns and refunds, and you just have all that information right now is available online as well, not just from what we are telling you. This information is today available. And also one of the most powerful ones is also knowing your money, and that is the product cost, Amazon fees, profit margins, shipping costs, and import costs. That is very important, that when you are now producing a product, you work on your MOQs so that you can make sure that, because you're going to be filtering all the products. Now, if as an Amazon seller, some people pay for 15% to 17% for FBA costs. There is also seller fees there that you need to think about. You've got the likes of VAT or sales tax out in the US. Just make sure that you seriously know where your money is and how you're going to be pricing your product. And again, at the end of the day, honestly, you as a director or entrepreneur, you're not here for for charity. You are here to make money. You are here to maximize your income, which is one thing that Tom spoke about at the opening stages, that, it's about you knowing and maximizing your income, and also your marketplaces, your products, selling in as much as platforms as possible the moment you have expanded your products. Now, I touched briefly on logistics and also shipping. Now, you need to think about the fact that you've got your reverse logistics, which is your returns. So make sure that you get it sorted. And of course, if you're thinking that your product is selling very well in Europe, there is much more 3PL warehouses that are there. One of the companies that we work with is Global eCommerce Experts on 3PL services. And there's also First Choice that could sort out with your shipping. And again, these names that I'm dropping in, I'm not really advertising these people. We don't get paid for it. It's just that our clients, they use them quite a lot. Same like as they use SellerMobile, really, really popular among our clients as a company that provides tools. And I'm just giving you a bit of direction as far as like which companies you may want to speak to before you look at others, and you can know exactly as to what you're doing. So again, it's knowing your marketplaces on this one, Tom. And again, it's knowing as to, now that I am selling on Amazon UK or Europe, so which other ones should I be looking at? Say, discount in France coupled with Rakuten? Should I look at Bol? Which marketplace should I be looking at? So knowing your marketplaces, I think it's very, very important. I don't know if you wanted to take it on here, Tom.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think marketplaces, in the sense that there's eBay, Shopify, Cdiscount, Rakuten. There's so many different ones. So as you just said, just to understand where your product's going to sell best is absolutely essential. I think with regards to Amazon specifically, because a huge percentage of people are on Amazon. I've touched on a few of the different FBA, the Fulfillment by Amazon programs that are available. So just to dive in very quickly to them, I mean, ultimately, there's 3 programs in place, all of which differ from where you actually trigger a tax liability. Now, we start off at the top. You've got one country, which is European Fulfillment Network. So EFN, you may see it as, which is what a lot of people start off by doing when they actually expand to Europe. Again, 4 or 5 years ago, Melanie, when you were just saying that a lot of people wanted to dip their toe in the water with the UK and sell into other marketplaces, which is absolutely fine under what's called the distance selling thresholds. Now, what I'm seeing now with a lot of the sellers that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, they're looking to expand to multiple markets for reasons that we explained earlier. Things like bringing their products closer to their buyers, giving them the Prime badge and the Prime promise, and saving on the fulfillment. So I think that with the different FBA programs that are available, you've got different ways of expanding into Europe, but the visibility that you gain from that, even if you just start in one marketplace, you can sell into all of the others. So it's unbelievable when you compare it to all of the other markets that are available. I think Europe is one of the only ones that has this very close-knit network in between each other, which is, controlled, as I said, through what's called the distance selling thresholds. But again, that's something that you don't necessarily need to worry about, because that's what we do at AVASK. We'll be able to monitor those thresholds from when you sell from one country to another, make sure that you stay compliant. But I would say it's never been easier. If I was a US seller now, I was selling good volumes, and coming up, Q4 will hit us very, very quickly. Where do you want to be? And that's the question that I ask everyone on the phone is, where do you want to be in 3, 6, 9 months' time? Because if you're looking at expanding to a new market, which marketplace is it? Which country is it? And then we can then set up a strategy call as to which market that might be, what are the requirements, and move on sort of progressively from there. Awesome. So that's a little bit more about the Amazon marketplaces and obviously what the benefits are. We then are moving on to understanding the different payment methods, which again I know we've touched on briefly. Melanie, I don't know if you wanted to take that one on.
Yeah, I mean, this is really talking about that there are companies like Payoneer they would help you with the currency exchange from dollar into pound or sterling, or from euro sterling into US dollars. Now, as you know, that when one currency to another converts, there is a fee that is normally chargeable. Amazon fees, I think they're around 3%. If you look at the likes of Pioneer, they're around 1 to 1.5%. So if you can save on that, and again, it's not a requirement for you to use these companies. You could just use Amazon straight and there isn't any problem there. But I would say once you've mastered the art of expansion, this is an option definitely you're going to want to look at, having a partner that's going to help you with the currency exchanges. And I would say on the eighth item, to be honest, I would just say it's going to be a seller thinking outside the box. And I would say most entrepreneurs, they've started this journey not because this is for fun. They are passionate. I think some of them, they started this journey because they wanted to replace their salaries. Others, they started because they were trying to solve a certain problem. Others, they just stumbled across this thing. But unfortunately, once you start getting into a business, you need to think about the fact that there is the likes of Facebook, who are marketplaces themselves. You can advertise your products there. There is Instagram. There is some influencers. I know a few of Instagram influencers and TikTok influencers as well, whereby you could just promote your products. And I would say, I know there's a lot of political stuff on TikTok, but I would say for me, I don't concentrate on those things. If I'm selling a product, I'll sell my product anywhere where there is the platforms or there is clients. So those ones, I would say they are very good channels to make your product to be known. Even Facebook today, you can basically turn around and say, I want clients in London. I want to target people that are in London and target your products. That anybody who's on Facebook that is in London your product is gonna be popping up. So I would say definitely look at those little strategies that you could execute, and you could just turn around and say, do you know what? I'll list my products on Amazon and I'll just do Facebook, promote them on Facebook as well. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I think I've seen some even friends of mine that are in the e-commerce industry and people that I speak to that have used the very simple 3 things to be able to do so much. So I think that, yes, you can pile money into different advertising and all sorts of things. I think, and that's great when you get to a certain stage and when you've got the capital to be able to do so. But I think if you're at the very early stages, then think outside the box, think about how you can reach your buyers in a number of different ways. So that's everything from my side. I think Melanie as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. This was a wealth of knowledge. You had so many different pieces in there that kind of walked people through the journey, really opened up their perspective, gave them, something new to think about, maybe gave them some ideas. So I think that was wonderful. Now, you've got your contact information here. What's the best way to reach you guys? And when folks reach you, if you can just sort of very quickly list off a few things that you could help them with.
Yeah, of course. So, obviously, details are there. So, feel free to reach out to myself directly or our expansion at AVASK Group. You'll both arrive at myself or one of the AVASK team that will be able to happy to help. So, there's so many different services that we can offer. I would say that the majority of people that are most likely going to be listening to this are going to be looking to strategize as to how to expand to a new market. Now we can do that in a number of different ways, but obviously our core bread and butter as a company is sort of the tax, the VAT and tax side, but also the VAT compliance. Okay, so we're not only helping people register for the taxes and making sure they're compliant, but also giving them the ongoing support on a monthly or quarterly basis, depending, of course, on the countries that they're looking to register in. With regards to other services, if you're looking to incorporate as a UK company, for example, or in the US or wherever it might be, then we can help with the incorporation and also the actual accounting, including the bookkeeping and reporting elements as well. And there's other aspects of the services, things like patents and trademarks and compliance checks, all are within our scope. But I think most things that sellers have along their e-commerce journey, feel free to reach out to us, because we'll either point you in the right direction or put a plan in place to be able to help you. Melanie, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think Tommy's just rounded up nicely so for us, like how we can help you. I think for anybody that is looking to expand, if they look at AVASK, they must look at it the fact that it's not an opportunity for us to be charging money for VAT, but it's an opportunity for you to talk. If you want to talk honestly, you've got my email address directly, which is melanie@avaskgroup.com or tommick@avaskgroup.com. Speak to us. Let's have that conversation and see how we can help you with your global expansion. Unfortunately, I don't speak a lot of languages, but internally in the firm, we speak about 20 languages. All European languages are spoken internally. So reach out to us, whether you want to speak in Spanish, Italian, German, whatever language you think of, we will be able to help you. And we've put through all the systems so that we can be able to reach out to everybody. I mean, I was speaking to somebody from Mexico yesterday, had to transfer the call to a colleague of mine who speaks Spanish because my one is appalling. So yeah, reach out to us. And thank you so much, SellerMobile, for having us today, and Hiba as well. Your software, our clients, I love it. So do what you guys are doing. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much. Thank you so much for being here and chatting with us.